I would like to, it'll be automatic, introduce Katarina Papamichail, not bad, who will be addressing the question of improving access to the Acropolis, talk about an old area, and the historical center of Athens, the impacts on tourism and the quality of life. Katarina is an architect and expert in universal design and accessibility of the built environment and accessible tourism. She is a former head of Architectural Studies, Greek Social Housing Organization, and section manager for the Olympic Paralympic Village at the Athens Olympic Games of 2004. She's an expert for the European Standardization Committee on accessibility requirements for public procurement in the built environment. And she's also the co-author of Greek Accessibility Guidelines and founding member of ENAT, European Network for Accessible Tourism, period. So please.
Thank you. Okay, thank you. So I would like to share some, I would like to show you how we made the historical center of Athens accessible, including the Acropolis, and that was largely because of the Olympics and Paralympic Games in 2004. So the city of Athens has made great improvements to accessibility for its historical cultural center in the past 10 years. And for this, the Games were a unique opportunity to improve the access in the city, including, of course, heritage sites and monuments. Today, if we look at TripAdvisor, you will see Athens presented as a Traveler's Choice Destination winner 2013, and they write, once known for smoke and tacky architecture, Athens is a city reformed thanks to fortunes brought by the 2004 Summer Olympics. Spotless parks and streets, an ultra-modern subway, new freeways, an accessible airport, and all signs in perfect English make the city easily negotiable. So here are some numbers. 17.9 million visitors. Heritage sites are some of the main attractions for those who come to Athens. The Acropolis top visitor attraction with 1.5 million visitors. And the Acropolis Museum, which is the third most popular museum in the world. The transformation of the historical center of the city was with accessibility in the center and with many improvements, focusing on the public spaces with the unification of the archaeological sites by a 5-kilometer accessible pedestrian route, access to the UNESCO World Heritage Site of the Acropolis, the new Acropolis Museum, and the public transport, which was greatly improved. I combine all this in the presentation because in Athens, wherever we dig, wherever we try to make a new construction, we discover a new city, an ancient city. So essentially the new pedestrian route is the unifying element which joins the monuments in the historical center, while the public transport system with its various transport modes connects and allows access to the center from the outer areas of the city. The Great Walkway was the major project completed in 2004, which really transformed the historical center of Athens. Named as the unification of the archaeological sites, the pedestrian route consists of 5 kilometers of walkways. The continuous walking route links all the significant cultural and archaeological landmarks of Athens, including the Acropolis and other key sites. The removal of roads and motor vehicles and the creation of the pedestrian route was a very radical solution for Athens, which had been choked by motor traffic for generations. This was a great improvement for general access and for the quality of life of citizens. A continuous tactile route made of marble is incorporated in the entire paved route. Visitors now can move freely without crossing traffic between the main archaeological and heritage sites and the central metro station. The walkway is a favored venue for families with small children and wheelchair users who enjoy the quiet and pleasant surroundings. Of course, there are some mistakes being made. The new cobblestone surface gives the feeling of an historical environment, but of course it is not the best for wheelchair users and pushchairs. An integrated smooth path is missing and I hope could be easily be added. Improved access has brought other benefits, allowing small enterprises and new activities, giving the opportunity for people to enjoy the city in new ways and with new possibilities for businesses and tourism. Today, people enjoy bike rides, children can play safely, and pedestrians can walk through the old neighborhoods around the Acropolis. Fun bike rides are offered to visitors, and many cafes can be found along the way. Tour buses reach only the edge of the walking route, and horse-drawn carriages are available for tourists to enjoy their visit in their preferred way. The pedestrian route also gives access to the Roman theatre, Herodian Theatre, built in 161 AD, and which is located on the southern slope of the Acropolis of Athens and has a capacity of 5,000 people. It was restored in the 1950s, and since then it has been the main venue of the Athens Festival, which runs from May to October each year, featuring a variety of Greek as well as international performances. Before the pedestrian route was created, the police had to stop traffic on the surrounding streets before the evening performances. But today, people enjoy a pleasant walk to the theatre. Wooden ramps and a platform area have been added on one side of the terraced roads of sitting, making the ancient theatre accessible for wheelchair users. A special platform is placed over the existing sitting in the first row above the floor for 8 wheelchair users and accompanying persons. And also additional 13 seats are reserved for people with other disabilities. The access to Acropolis. For decades, the only access to the top was by a steep and twisting footpath with many steps cut in the rock and without handrails. A wheelchair user could only be carried to the top by 4 strong friends. Until this century, the issue of access was hardly even discussed, being considered too outrageous given the status of the monument. How could anyone think of adding modern staircases or lifts to such a monument? Remarkably, the Greek state made a promise to make the Acropolis accessible for all, when in 1997 it submitted its bid to host the Olympic and Paralympic Games. There was no approved plan at the time, but one had to be made. Achieving access here was no less than making the impossible possible. And this also proves that everything is a matter of decision. Visitors with walking disabilities and wheelchair users can now ascend the Acropolis by a special route on the north side of the rock. A smooth path leads to the first stage where there is a platform lift. From the top of this lift, a lift cage takes the visitor directly to the top, ascending the outer fortification wall. The lift was approved as a temporary solution in 2004 to overcome any objections there may have been, but today it remains and serves many visitors. Now it is also available for parents with pushchairs and people with walking difficulties, not only for wheelchair users, which had been the case previously. The lift can carry 1 disabled visitor in a wheelchair and their companion in addition to the lift operator. The elevator system is attached to part of the wall that was constructed during the decades between the 2 world wars and doesn't touch the ancient wall next to it. The ascent takes about 50 seconds, and visitors get off near the 5th century BC Erection temple. The paths that led around the top have been smoothed and a special surface has been added, but most wheelchair users require some assistance to get around the side and the slip in marble. The new Acropolis Museum is located below the Acropolis on the Great Walkway. It is a landmark for Athens and is the third most popular in the world. It was designed by the Swiss architect Bernard Tschumi and opened in 2009. The new museum is an exceptional example of a design which respects the historical legacy of the city. In this view, in the slide you can see the Acropolis with the Parthenon and the old museum, a low building at the eastern corner of the Acropolis, and the new museum in the foreground. The new museum had to fit into a very small plot among other buildings and have a direct view to the Acropolis. When the site was being prepared for the foundations, layers of previous civilizations were found beneath the streets and buildings. A design and engineering solution was found by placing the building higher up on 43 columns so that the excavations could be protected and displayed. Visitors can now see a working excavation site under the museum. Glass floors have been installed to allow the excavations to be viewed, also while walking through the museum. It is a unique experience, but I must say some people have commented that they feel unsafe walking on the invisible glass floors. Accessibility has been considered, focusing mostly on the requirements of the wheelchair users. Wheelchairs are also available free of charge at the museum entrance for those with walking difficulties. There are also parking spaces for visitors with disabilities. The historical center works as a pedestrian environment because of the public transport system, which connects easily and in many places the Great Walkway. All the different means of transport, of public transport, bus, train and metro, are fully wheelchair accessible. Altogether, they make it easy for people and visitors and citizens to visit the historical center from the outlying areas of Athens. They have also reduced motor vehicle traffic by 400,000 journeys per day. The metro and the renovated railway have really brought a big change to everybody's life in the city. The metro was opened in January 2000 and has 2 lines. It carries 450,000 passengers daily and extends to the Athens International Airport. The metro line and the railway converge to the historical center. Athens Metro is accessible for all, including wheelchair users and people with proms and pushchairs, people with visual impairments, tourists with suitcases. Every station has lifts and level or ramped access points, and escalators are provided to all stations. Ticket machines and ticket counters are the low-height, suitable for wheelchair users. The platforms are provided with tactile paving and warning tiles at the platform edge. On every platform there is level access to the train, and there is only a very small gap between the platform edge and the train. There is also visual and verbal announcement of stops. The Athens metro stations have a unique style or character, and specially commissioned works of art are a feature in every station. The artworks and decoration continue to contribute to overall accessibility by adding a sense of place and helping orientation. Many and important archaeological remains were found during the construction works and have been displayed in glass cases and exhibits in the stations, making the Athens Metro a museum in its own right. The Athens Rail passenger line connects the busy port of Piraeus with the northern suburb of Kifisia, passing through the center of Athens. Today, following the renovations of the 2004 Olympics, The Athens-Piraeus railway line is an example of good practice in accessibility in Europe. All the stations, platforms and their approaches are now fully accessible for all, including wheelchair users, older people, visually impaired and others. All platforms and approaches have tactile routes with color contrast and tactile markings at the platform edge. Lifts were added where necessary and escalators were installed. The surrounding pavements and access routes were brought up to the standard. And closing this presentation, I would like to say that access to heritage has given Athens and its citizens and the visitors the possibility to visit the monuments, to enjoy better quality in life in the city. Accessibility has also become an integral part of urban planning, and this was a fundamental change, which is now a model for other historical cities to follow. Of course, after the austerity measures and the crisis in Greece, improvements have been slowed down, so we need more access improvements, which are still needed at the center and throughout Athens. But this was a very good start for the city. Thank you.
Konstantin Zergafopoulos from Chicago, and I happen to have the pleasure of not only being in Greece, but also in Brazil. And the question I pose to all the panelists is, I see the wonderful work that's been created. The challenge that exists, and how is it maybe today, it's the marketing of the work. I've been to the site of the Department of Tourism, and you have a better presentation they actually do on their own site.
I know.
And the same Brazil. So if you can help, how does that work in terms of, here you are, you're presenting to us, but we get it. How do we market it, or how do we convince the governments to market that so that lures the visitors to the destinations?
Very good. Katarina,
And share your frustrations if you don't mind. That's okay too.
No. I fully agree with you, and I have the same problem. I know people in the in the Ministry of Tourism, and someday they asked me, one of those, they heard once a similar presentation, and she asked me, is that really true? I said, don't you live in Athens? I mean, why the Greek authorities, they don't advertise what we have? Nothing is perfect, but it's a very big improvement. And people, they don't know that the historical center is accessible. Our metro is one of the most accessible ones, and we are very proud of this. This is the jewel of Athens, and nobody is advertising the accessibility of the center. I agree with you, and this is the problem in Athens. We try to convince the authorities. I'm trying to be an ambassador, but this is not enough.
Yes. My wife and I work with the UN World Tourism Organization and also with Sustainable Travel International on mainly sustainable tourism things. But the work we're doing right now is to try and develop an international database that will actually be accessible for exactly the kinds of information that you were providing today. Because all of us are tired of phoning after searching to try and find out the facts that you know. So the next session, there's a workshop or a presentation on this and on information from several people. And tomorrow morning, we're actually inviting people to come to a workshop to help to develop the templates, because we've got TripAdvisor and Google Earth both interested in being able to geolink them. But we do desperately need support from people who want to share information to get them beyond just interested to actually do something.
Thank you.
You talked about TripAdvisor and Google's, and I travel a lot all around the world. The first thing that I put when I give my opinion of the hotel, the city, the restaurant that I go is about accessibility, not accessible. So TripAdvisor really needs to have something like that, because you don't find this kind of information. And I look very much at TripAdvisor when I do a travel.
Thank you. Other comments or questions?
Can I say something?
Yes.
I also would like to say about the information that we have made we have made a research, and we see that the National Tourist Board they never, most of them, they don't provide information about accessibility. It is incredible to see that the accessibility information is hidden sometimes after enjoy or some other words. People cannot find it. And it's incredible for other target groups, they provide the information, but not on accessibility. So this is also an issue to be pointed out to the national tourist boards.
Judy Gerstel from Toronto. Just a quick question, Katarina. The lift to the Acropolis for wheelchairs, is there a charge for that?
No, no, no.
Okay, good. Thank you.
Simple.
We also have in Rio the historical center, and it's very interesting. It's beautiful. They are trying to reconstruct because everything is destroyed. And we also have the Olympic and Paralympic Games
Yeah.
2 years, in 2 years. And here, I don't know, it takes too much time to reform an historical area of the city.
It does. yeah.
And I believe that we don't have time enough to do in Rio.
In Athens, the decision was taken about joining the archaeological sites even before the Olympics, and it started with European funding. But the Olympics were the pushing event to finish on time and to do everything quickly.
After the Olympics, you continue.
We don't continue so much because we're facing lots of problems, but I hope we will go slowly.
Unfortunately, sometimes after the Olympics, like
Yes.
apparently in Beijing, they put up a lot of stuff for the Olympics, and they
slow down.
They
Yeah.
actually undid some of the
Yes,
accessible stuff
yes.
afterwards, which is a tragedy in its own right.